Thawadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Thawadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Rakakutash Barakathum. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, 1 for the 4 and the rest of the 1/3. All my apostles, elders, bishops, Malakim, Ruel, and GMS, Shalom. Apostle Tahar is talking right now, giving up that word. Thawadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushua, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushua, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushua, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. Knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom and knowledge.
Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahshua, Hashem, Rakakadah, Shalom to the 144,000. Rest of the elect out there, Shalom to you all. I'm going to make it super quick. This is from a video that I'm currently watching. I think this was put up as a premiere. Anyway, put up by GMS Vegas 144 Reloaded. The pressure is on for Babylon. Sedition is inevitable. Sedition, insurrection. Look up the word sedition. It's a different meaning than insurrection. Insurrection would be a civil war. Civil community coming against the government. That's your Second Ezra's 15 verse 16. I think you start the 15th verse. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and they will have the upper hand. I'm merely paraphrasing. But anyway, I'm going to entitle this video Deuteronomy 30 verse 7 in full effect. Esau is bitching right now because things are not, they don't have enough money. Ends are not being met. I'll just say it that way. The money that they're making is not covering all of their bills. At one time it did. Now Jake had to deal with that when they made a certain amount of money and they had to live in certain areas where they couldn't afford where Esau lived. Now Esau is feeling like a Jake. That's what? A reversal of power. Deuteronomy 30 verse 7. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it. And I'm going to read, you know what it says in King James. I just want to read it in the Deuteronomy 30 verse 7. And amplified. Yahweh, your power, your God, will inflict all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you. These are all the nations, but especially Esau, who have persecuted you. So now they're catching hell. We don't give a damn about you, what you're going through. We had to go through this for centuries. Slavery and so forth. This is an NLT. Yahweh, your power, will inflict all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate and persecute you. Let's try that in BBE, Bible in Basic English. Let's see what it says. He is being overwhelmed by these UFOs. I'm watching right now. I got it on mute. It's Alex Jones. You have this expert of the UFOs. He going in. He showed the picture of a UFO, the top of the UFO, which I did a video on. That you can see it was written. He said it was what do you call that? Proto-Sanskrit, which means before Sanskrit, which was ancient Hebrew. Lashon Kodash, you can understand. So this is Deuteronomy 30 verse 7 in the BBE, Bible in Basic English. And the Lord, your power, will put all these curses on those who are against you and on your haters who put a cruel yoke on you. So now we're just going to play it. Where is it? Okay, here we go. I urge you to watch the rest of this video.
Any project or anything that they want done is going to take taxpaying money. So people are starting to feel it, and they're starting to, they're starting to become restless. All right, and what's the saying go? When they have nothing left to lose, they lose it. So the pressure is on right now. All right, they're the title of this video. They're at a breaking point. The U.S. is hitting a breaking point. All right, where you see how the wealth has been transferred, to the rich, and the working class and the poor has been taking the hit. All right. So it's only a matter of time before we start to see smoke all throughout the country. All right. So anyway, this is from Midas Touch. This is fair use, but I just want to respond to this. So let me play this clip, and then we'll get to the scriptures.
If anyone out there is wondering how Americans are doing, poorly. We are doing poorly. Yesterday, I woke up to an email from my landlord saying, hey, I'm raising your rent. Why? No fucking reason. We already pay all of the utilities ourselves. That is not included in the rent. So we pay for electricity, and we pay for water, and we pay for natural gas to heat our home. And that bill in particular has fucking skyrocketed this year. Every single month this winter, it was over $600. And we do not turn the heat on. We just turn it so that we can fucking survive. We do not turn it above 60. So we're fucking freezing in the house all fucking winter. Oh, and also I woke up this morning to an email from my health insurance being like, thanks for your payment. It was deducted automatically, except this time the payment was $400 more than it was last month. Sorry? What's going on? So I called the health insurance company and I was like, why did this happen? And they said, oh, well, the tax premium expired. I called the New York State Department of Health and it was just whole fucking rigmarole because they intentionally make it so opaque that you just have to spend all of your fucking time and energy just navigating this fuck-ass bureaucracy and trying not to get fucked more than they're already fucking you. I got my new IUD yesterday, so I need the fucking IUD because I cannot afford to have children. Obviously, meanwhile, the fucking psychos over at CPAC are like, hey, you dumb bitches, leave the workforce. Better yet, never join the workforce and shack up with the first chud you meet in high school and start popping out babies that we know that you cannot afford because they're all fucking psycho Christian nationalists. The experience of being a working class American is to just be squeezed for every single dollar that you have at every turn, and you're like, just wave your arm and you just run into another fee that you were supposed to pay. And where does that money go?
Yeah. and hey, this is something that we've been having to endure. All right, as an Israelite, this is what we've been having to endure. All right. This tells you that in the book of Haggai. When you earn your wages, you put it in a bag filled with holes. Every penny that you earn, it has a destination. So we're subject to payments in our captivity as it is yet this day, as it is written. But now these other nations here in Babylon, they got to basically feel the same effects. They have to experience the same suffering. So welcome to our world, man.
Straight to the fucking top, straight to the fucking billionaires who do not create jobs. In fact, they keep slashing jobs just to invest in fucking AI data centers. I don't understand how we're not out in the streets all the time.
So what she's saying, especially with that last statement, she's just echoing the sentiment of a lot of Americans they're on edge. She's talking about why don't we, take it to the streets? Because that's how these people are feeling.
That's civil war. That's insurrection. Their backs are to the wall. And I mentioned 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 16.
Squeeze these people out of their basic necessities and essentials, and it's too expensive to afford. You know what's next. So we're in that time where sedition is inevitable. And this is what comes with the fall of an empire society. When it gets to crumbling, it's going to be fighting from within. And the Lord said, a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. All right? So these are the type of things that are echoed from the people before, insurrection begins, and then followed by civil war. All right? This is part of what to expect, especially as this thing continues to worsen. Let's continue. Hey, the scriptures said it. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. You have the wicked that's in power, man. All right, and they only care about their own greed.
Felt every single word of what that young lady said in my bones. Hi, I'm Suri Crow, and you're watching the Midas Touch Network. Politicians keep talking about the middle class. What middle class? It's the working poor, like her, myself, and probably many of you watching, and then there's the rich people. Seriously, the middle class is dead and dying. Who are these people taking luxury vacations and buying new homes and cars when the rest of us are barely able to afford to keep a roof over our heads, put groceries in the cabinet, and healthcare? What is that? Ever since Republicans shredded it to pay off the billionaire class.
I'm not gonna fucking make it in this fucking world because, tell me why I just went to fucking Kroger's and got groceries. I just got paid today, my last fucking paycheck, and I spent $73 fucking on popcorn, crackers, Cheez-Its, milk, ranch dressing, tomatoes, just basic shit, man. A box of fucking Cheez-Its and a box of fucking crackers was $5 a fucking piece. The ranch dressing was fucking $5. The tomatoes were $4. The milk is $7 a gallon, and my kid drinks 3 gallons a week. That's $20 fucking dollars.
What do you expect? And your country is multi-trillions in debt. When the government keeps printing, out of thin air, and more nations are starting to de-dollarize. It's going to be way worse than what it is now. Matter of fact, it was just recently reported that the UAE has basically left OPEC. So now that you have a country that just left OPEC, that's another dart into the petrodollar. Because they use that whole pact, they use the petrodollar to trade in oil. So now one member is actually exiting. So the dollar is going to take an even bigger hit. So what you spending right now for your essentials, you're going to be paying way more later down the line. Wait till hyperinflation hit. Go study up on Zimbabwe. Go study up on the Weimar Republic.
The worst in the history we don't even speak about is in Hungary. That was his worse than the Weimar Republic and Robert Mugabe, Rwanda.
Wait till hyperinflation hit. Go study up on Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe.
Be up on the Weimar Republic. These people ain't ready, man. They complaining now. You're still able to, get things. You can still buy stuff. It's just a lot pricier now. But just wait later. Revelation, was that?
We don't give a damn that you're going through this. We've been going through this for decades and decades and decades, man. We came over here to serve slavery. So fuck you damn crackers, man. And ultimately, the cherry on top is you going into captivity. So you bitching now. What you gonna do when you out there in the field working all day? He that leaves in the captivity shall go into captivity. So a nation puts another nation in captivity, they're gonna go into captivity. This is there's certain nations that you ain't gonna pay for the crimes that you committed against them, but the crimes that you committed against The Israelites, the chosen people of the Most High, that's the only ones that the Most High is concerned about. He ain't concerned about these other nations. They're going to have to get revenge their own way. You got the Edomite woman, the craven Jake men, left and right. So you're done, right?
Right. Calm.
Galatians 6, dealing with the black horse.
We're in the time of the black horse.
Calm.
And this can cause hunger even when there is food, because when the monetary system collapses and basically there's literally no value at all. Hey, when hyperinflation hits, it's going to take you way more, because the purchasing power is pretty much rock bottom. There's Revelation 6 and Salaki, I meant to go to 6 and 5. It says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the fourth beast say, a measure of wheat for a penny. And when you read it in the Greek, it's denarius. You know, it was the Roman currency at the time, which when you study the ancient Roman Empire, they dealt with the same thing. Going back to ancient Rome, you know, they kept overspending, and they had a military industrial complex just like Esau do today, right? The denarius was so devalued that they had to add other metals and mix it with the silver denarius, and it brought down its value. All right, they had less weight to it, less worth to it. It wasn't pure anymore. So it said a measure of wheat for a penny. So you probably got paid that a day. But now you can only spend what you made in an entire day's of work. You can only buy
a penny is a day's wage for, let's say, a Roman soldier, which when they were in their power, a day wage can, take care of a Roman soldier. So they were noticing that their buying power was diminishing. And the same things happen. This happens when a kingdom goes down, this is what happens.
A loaf of wheat bread. That's basically what that's going into. It says, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil in the wine. So that's hyperinflation, and that's what leads to famine. Okay. So these people, they ain't really seen nothing yet. But we know Esau, they were so used to being coddled, under white supremacy, having so-called white privilege, still living above and beyond the average Jake household. When we consider the wealth gap, the wealth disparity, is still a big difference. But Jake has managed to overcome, and Esau, he's sinking down. So that's how you know Esau is at the end of his world. All right, because now they're starting to feel it, just like the effects of the curses are coming upon them. So let's go back.
So anything that you read about in Deuteronomy 28, from the 15 verse 1 down, the curses, that applies to Esau. And Deuteronomy 28, from the first verse to the 14, 15 verse, applies to us. Where we are getting, we're beginning to get blessings.
Come. You're done, devil. Told
It
you.
starts with the Israelite man, then the woman.
That's right.
So we're going to get all them blessings.
Come.
I barely get any goddamn food to make $73 fucking dollars.
For those of her comments telling her to buy beans and clip coupons, stop. Just stop. You're missing the point. This is not a budgeting lesson. This is a working mother in America who just got paid, walked into the store, bought snacks and milk, and nearly cried at the register. She
Cried.
wants ranch dressing, tomatoes, and milk. Not Wagyu steak, not lobster.
Cried.
Cheez-Its. Is the new American dream being told that Cheez-Its are a luxury item? Attacking her choices is exactly what they want you to do. They want you to argue about what she bought, so you never have to ask why it costs so much. People love to critique the clerk because it's easier than criticizing the system. Her not being able to afford milk is an issue. $7 a gallon, 3 gallons a week, that's over $1,000 a year just in milk. For one child, one basic non-negotiable item. This woman isn't asking for luxury, she's asking to exist in the country she works in without having to do grief math every time she reaches for a box of crackers. And yeah, people are going to say, cut out the extras, but the extras keep getting redefined until the only thing left is survival. That's the scam. Because first it's don't buy snacks, then it's don't buy brand names, then it's don't buy convenience food, then don't buy meat, then don't buy anything fresh. At some point the messaging becomes, if you're not miserable enough, you're overspending. Wages didn't go up, prices did. And that's the story. Don't let anyone flip it into a lecture about her grocery list. If a working parent in America can't buy milk, tomatoes, crackers, and ranch without feeling like she got robbed at a grocery store, the problem isn't her clerk. The problem is
It's
the
going to cause death to go up, and it's going to cause these supermarkets to go out of business because they're not making money. Nobody paying for stuff, they're just snatching. These Edomites are getting desperate. Now you know what it's like to be an N-word.
Brief math. That is such, that just hit me in my chest. Hit me in the comments if you know what brief math is. I do because I do it all the time. If I buy this, can I afford this? If I do this, will I be able to, put gas in the truck? Whatever. I mean, this isn't living in America right now. It is surviving in the wealthiest country in the world. Are you aware that according to Forbes, Donald Trump has made $6.5 billion off the presidency? That is repulsive. He's up $1.5 billion just since last year. This, while millions of Americans, like I said, don't have enough to put food on the table or keep a roof over their heads, are making decisions between, do we pay the power bill this month? Or do we,
And that's why, let me see if I can find it. That's why the Lord's going to basically take this kingdom from his ass and translate it to us. It ain't going to be like this when we rule. I think was it Proverbs 29?
It's also in the Apocrypha.
Okay, this is his own people suffering. We already know about Jacob, but this is even his own people complaining. They're groaning. This is Proverbs 29 verse 7 says, "The righteous consider the cause of the poor, but the wicked regard him not to know." Especially if he's rich. The rich can give two fucks about your problems, your troubles. It tells you that in Psalm 73rd chapter. They speak lawfully concerning oppression. It's like it says they speak wickedly concerning oppression. And they're busy trying to build bunkers and hiding places because they know what's coming.
Come.
You can't win for this
super rich.
Come.
long and look around and see everybody suffering and starving and think that you just gonna be able to live, to the sunset. This is Psalm 73. And 3 it says, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. They have no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They're not in trouble as other men."
Not no more. Not no more.
Not no more.
They plague like other men. They ain't
Come.
dealing with no type of hardship. Very comfortable living. Everybody around gotta suffer though. Why they continue to just take and take and take from everybody, from every every land. And that's Habakkuk, the second chapter. Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. That's the taunting proverb. And that's why people are livid. And eventually people will start raising up against them. It says, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness. That represents wealth. It says they have more than heart could
Right,
wish.
they are the elite, not just your average Edomite out there. They catching hell, including these mega people. It's talking about the super rich, the elite, the multi-billionaires and trillionaires. Another precept I'll mention is James 5. They have heaped treasures together for the last days. And it says how the people, which are the Israelites, they don't pray to the Heavenly Father because they were taken by fraud. And the fraud is the way the money system works. This is fiat currency. It's not backed by gold or silver. So if the people knew about real money, they would stock up on gold and silver. But they don't understand real money. They don't understand how money loses its value. Prices do not go up. They keep saying the prices keep going up, the price is not going up. The value of the dollar is going down. So you need more dollars to buy things. That something that you was able to buy for $1 might cost you $10 now. Literally.
They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. But all that's going to happen is he's going to eventually vomit all that up. All right?
Oh.
He's not going to feel any quietness in his belly. So he's going to end up giving up his goods, even though he's going to fight to try to keep it. And that's when the Lord's going to, return, all right, where he's going to put his foot down and conquer these nations. And then we're going to get these super rich elite of the world, put them in chains. All right, according to prophecy, according to Bible prophecy, that's what's going to end up happening. And then the gates of Jerusalem are going to be open so that all the riches that they stole and hoarded is going to be translated. Now that's going to be the forces of the Gentiles, man, coming through them gates. Them devils going to have to come up off of that.
Right.
Verse 12, it says, behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world, they increase in riches. And while that happens, people got to suffer. Okay? These banks and these bankers and these corporate CEOs, all right, they all are, taking up everything. So eventually, people will start, they're gonna lose it.
Buy essentials for the kids to go to school. America has been careening toward a failing financial state for the working class for decades, ever since Reagan began redistributing wealth towards the one percenters. Remember that whole trickle-down thing? Yeah, well, it's total bullshit.
Let me go ahead and just pull this up. Let me just pull up this word. Let me do a word search. Let me do a word search on the poor first and then the rich. Let me put in the poor, because most of you Edomites are poor now.
That's right. Call.
Comes up a bunch of times. Boy, gotta do it. You got all this down.
Call. You're over with, Esau. You're done.
Everybody say with the force of the sword. It's a lot in the book of Job.
You're done.
They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hides together. That's when Edomites began to realize that you're poor.
That's right. Poor as hell.
We're going to read all these precepts, of course.
Call.
He delivereth the poor, the Israelites, in his affliction, and openeth their eyes in oppression. We're being oppressed by the super rich. Psalms 9 verse 18. For the needy shall not always be forgotten. The expectation of the poor shall not perish forever. We're going to start getting blessings. That poor is talking about Israelites.
Right. Call.
Psalms 10 verse 2. The wicked in his pride will persecute the poor. How does he persecute the poor? By the money system.
Right. You're done, Esau. You're done. Barak called Ahel. Right.
I'm sorry, let me read this again. He saith in the, the wicked in his pride will persecute the poor, let them be taken, and the devices that they have imagined. Ten and 10. He crouches and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. That's their military. So there's a lot of references, over 600 references to the word the poor, or the phrase the poor. It says defend, Psalms 82 verse 3, defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy. So we are afflicted and needy. So we're looking for the Father to help us. Yahweh B'Shem El Shai. Now I want to go into the word the rich. The rich. Nobody got arrested in America on the Epstein thing. So all that shit was for nothing. And all of them were implicated in dealing with underage boys and girls.
Yep, that is true.
Let me look at this real quick.
Nothing. But you gonna get yours, eat them. It's a wrap.
Job 27 verse 19, the rich man shall lie down, but he shall not be gathered. He openeth his eyes, and he is not. This man is getting ready to go down.
Down. Oh yeah.
The poor is hated even of his own neighbor, but the rich have many friends. Ass kisses. Proverbs 18:11. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. That's why they're able to build these fallout shelters, because they have the money to do so. You're going to be caught out there, man. As a high wall in his own conceit.
That's right.
Proverbs 18:23. The poor uses entreaties, meaning they're nice, they're polite. They choose their words. But the rich answer roughly. They say what you look for a job, you look for mercy, they can just, like a judge, you go before a judge, and you go humbly before a judge, and the judge got a bad day, he's going to bring down the hammer on you. 22, Proverbs 22, verse 2, the rich and poor meet together. Yahweh is the maker of them all. Proverbs 22, verse 7, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower, we're all borrowers. As soon as you take hold of a Federal Reserve note, you become a borrower or a lender. And the borrower is servant to the what? To the lender. Anytime you deal with these FRNs, that's a debt-based note. for all debts, private and public. Proverbs 22, verse 16, he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to what? To want. Because they're gonna lose everything. Right. Psalms 149, the whole chapter, but the last 2 verses, 56 verse, but you can read the whole chapter, it's a short chapter. The rich man is wise in his own conceit, but the poor that have understanding searches him out. We search him out. We know that this man is getting ready to go down.
Going down. That's right. You're going down, devil.
Folly is great. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place. Let me open this up. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. They had that famous Teddy Roosevelt on a horse. He had a gat out on one side, and you had a Jake on the other side. And we used to read that scripture, and that symbolizes that. And they took that down. They took that down. Ariel was the first to bring that out.
Took it down. That's a statue in New York. That's right.
Okay.
You're over with it. Devil, Barak Aki, Wadi Awabashi Naosha.
So here is the difference between the rich and the poor.
That's right. Calm. Apostle Tahar, tell him.
Oh, this one is a good one. Isaiah 53, verse 9. Because Yahushua was considered a poor man. He wasn't rich. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. That's Yahushua. Joseph of Arimathea gave up his plot, a sepulchre for the Lord to be buried in, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. He was a perfect man.
Calm. So Yahushua, all powerful.
So come on back over here.
Right.
And the rich, it says that the scripture says the rich despise the poor, to look down on the poor. We just cross this out. Let's get back into this.
He did it through tax cuts.
And this capitalist model was designed for them to win, and for them to win only. It's a rigged game, a rigged system. You see, when the dollar had value to it, when it had some, purchasing power, people was okay for the most part. You was able to live off of one income. That's why the man was able to go to work, and women were able to be at home. They was able to be wives.
There's an old saying: the man brings home the bacon. He paid for all the bills because it only took one person, the man in the household, to work. Women became homemakers. They had children.
The mothers, and be traditional. Can't afford that anymore. Then, feminism came, and at the same time, it brought these women into the workforce. They started taxing the women. But then the government kept borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. And the next was history after that. Your monetary system, your dollar started to devalue over time. All right? And the people have been having to foot the bill, bearing that burden. And scriptures say the borrower is servant to the lender. So we all are debt slaves. We've been serving the international bankers. And now it's starting to catch up,
Loopholes for the rich. And ever since then, the rich have been getting steadily wealthier and wealthier. And now the bottom is falling out on the rest of us because we are the ones who are propping up this parasite decamillionaire and billionaire class up. Kamel Abdul Karim allegedly set fire to a California Kimberly-Clark warehouse full of paper products, causing $750 million in property damage. Here is...
We don't know if this is a PSYOP or not. Most of these things that you see are PSYOPs. Now that company is insured, so they're going to get paid.
A snippet of the video that he allegedly took while he was allegedly doing it.
Remember, all this stuff is insured, so they're gonna come off like a fat rat.
Could have paid us enough to fucking live. You know, we didn't get paid enough to fucking live. But these bitches, they're cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live.
Yeah, that right there. When he said that, that was like a battle cry, like a war cry. A lot of people kind of been feeling the same sentiment. People, of course, ain't gonna put themselves in this position, though. But hey, you never know. People got breaking points. If you defraud people of their living, yeah, this what that can lead to.
It's called slave wages. A slave wage is when you work and you make just enough to get by, to live from paycheck to paycheck, and you depend on that job. You get fired from the job, 2 weeks later, you're done. You're finished. You're evicted.
But just imagine a whole country of people that's living on the poverty line. People barely pulling it together. And they see that as long as they're on this hamster's wheel, nothing's going to change. And they're going to look they're going to look at those who don't live on the hamster's wheel, and they just kicking back. All their money pile up while you're running on that hamster's wheel, and that's the only way you're generating revenue for them. So, yeah, this right here, man. And I said it when this happened. I'm like, don't let this become a trend.
Calm. It's a wrap. It's a wrap, devil. Oh yeah. Part 2.